everybody, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with a project today using the Love Letters collection from Country Craft Creations. And yes, this is the cover sheet for the 8x8, not the 12x12. I did use the 8x8 on inserts. The rest of this is actually from the 12x12. So this is a very slim folio. I made this actually to go with a larger project that I have planned out for the Here Comes the Bride wedding paper. I was envisioning this as kind of like an engagement album. So, but obviously you could use this for Valentine's or anniversary or anything like that, because honestly, the Love Letters paper is so versatile and just kind of like not even, it's Valentine's without being like, boom, Valentine's. You know what I mean? So this is 9x9 with a 1 1/4 inch spine. It goes together super fast. I literally like sat down and cut this and assembled it the other night in, I think, about an hour and a half is all. And that included recording it. And then I spent most of today matting it off and on in between meetings and emails and phone calls. Matting, of course, takes me forever. So on the front here, I did fussy cut some of the roses and elements out of one of the papers in the 12x12 collection. This is another piece from that same sheet that I used to mat the front. This is actually the back of one of the Valentine's specific pages. Oh, it's the back side of the Cupid's Bakery one. So, I mean, really, like, you use the back sides of this, the Valentine's, or not the Valentine's Farm, the Kissing Booth, really even the Valentine's Farm. And, I mean, you'd never know this was a Valentine's paper, which I think is probably why I love this one so much. All right, so when we open it up, we have got very simple to put together. So this opens up like so. I did not mat the entire fold out here just because I didn't want it to get too bulky with matting, and then, you know, if pictures were going in later. This, of course, I just fussy cut, and this. I didn't do a whole lot beyond that as far as decorating goes, just because this paper is gorgeous. I really didn't feel like it needed anything because there's just enough of a variety in the paper itself that I really didn't feel like I needed to do a ton. So on top of those two flaps, you've got just waterfalls. I'm not going to untie that and open it. You guys know what waterfalls look like. These are 3.5 by 4 for the pages on the waterfall. And this whole thing flips up. We've got a belly band up here, and then I've got just some 6x8 inserts that you could put pictures on underneath the belly band. These are the ones I did mat with the 8x8 paper because I have quite a bit of it left. We've got stacked pockets here. I did use the envelope punch to do this. I did show you how I did it because it's one of those things, I love how it looks, and I'm absolutely terrible at doing it. So I went very slowly and very methodically when I did this, and I go through it with you. So hopefully, you know, if you're one like me that has a hard time with this, it will help. Another insert here, again, with the 8x8 paper. That one is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then this is another 6x8 in that small pocket right there. On this side, we've got just a very small kind of side flip waterfall. I had another piece fussy cut for this. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know. That's okay. It doesn't need it. It's fine. But again, I mean, the paper's gorgeous. So right here, we just have a flip right there. And that one I did fussy cut and put that on top of one of the My Colors solids. Actually, it's like the Swiss dot one, which you can kind of see it there. And then this one is going to open up this way, and you've got plenty of space for pictures. And then I've got a big pocket here that I think that's where some of my inserts from my other stuff were supposed to go. I knew there was somewhere else I needed to put them. And then I just cut out the tags from the tag sheet in the collection and literally just tucked those into these two little pockets there. And those flaps and these flaps are held closed with a magnet. And then this side also flips up, and then underneath has the same configuration as the opposite side. So you've got your 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 inserts, you've got your 6 by 8 inserts, and I'm going to pull those out because that's what 2 of those were supposed to go to, was that other pocket, and I totally spaced it. So I'm going to fix that right now while I'm thinking about it. But yeah, so this is the project. Super, super easy. This will go together really, really fast. You'll be surprised how fast this one will go together. And then, of course, I use some of that beautiful sheer polka dot ribbon. This is the gray, actually, because honestly, this paper looks really good with the gray artisan cardstock. But I've got a ton of the natural linen, so that's what I used. Okay, so there is the project. The tutorial starts next. Okay, so for our base, we're going to start with 2 pieces of chipboard that are 9 by 9. To wrap those, we need cardstock that is 11 by 11. I'm going to use my 1-inch spacers and try to find my pick to get the backing off of this. You can do this part with glue if you want to. I prefer the score tape because then it doesn't bubble. And you get smooth coverage, edge to edge. Second piece, we're going to do the same thing. 11 by 11 on the cardstock, 9 by 9 on the chipboard. And again, I have tape over the entire back of this. Okay, that's going to go down just like so. If you don't have the acrylic spacers, you of course can use chipboard scraps. If you don't want to do that, you can score lightly at 1 inch on 2 sides and use that as your guide. That works as well. For our spine is going to be 9 inches by 1 1/4. To wrap that, we need a piece that is 4 1/4 by, I think I did this 4 1/4, didn't I? Yeah, 4 1/4 by 11. And again, I've got tape on the back of this one too. Okay. And there goes my lid on that again. I just don't want to get my little wax pickup tool piece dirty. Okay, so we want the 1 inch for the spine only. We want the 1 inch spacer on the top, the 1 1/2 inch spacer on the side. I'm going to line that up, drop that down. We are done with our spacers. And we are done with our scoreboard for now. And then what we're going to do is you're just going to fold that cardstock around all 3 pieces of chipboard. Just like so. We're going to do this on all 3 pieces. If for some reason you are not using artisan cardstock, because I know it's not the cheapest, it is the absolute best in the entire world, but it's not the cheapest. if you're worried about your cardstock cracking, what you can do is take your bone folder and go around the outside edges of your cover pieces, like so, and just kind of work that cardstock down over the edge. And then fold, and that should help with keeping it from cracking. The artisan cardstock, like, you have to do something really wrong to make it crack. Occasionally, just because I live in a fairly dry climate anyway, in the wintertime, sometimes it will get to where it doesn't crack necessarily, but because there's linen in the paper, you'll get like little pieces that kind of will pop up that you can literally take a nail file and sand off. So it's not cracking, it's just the linen. Sometimes when it gets really, really dry, especially if I've been running my space heater, it will kind of not I don't even know how to explain it, but it's not cracking. It's just the fibers are the linen fibers are kind of popping up. Anyway, doesn't happen super often, like not often enough that I even have an example of it in a video to show you. So, okay, you folded, you're going to come in here and you're going to cut these corners out on all three pieces. And then you are going to miter. So you're going to fold this in, scissors up against the side of the chipboard, angle in, and cut. I know a couple of people who've had a hard time getting this, where they think it looks right on the corners. You can use the other method that I always had used when I was still wrapping these with the old method rather than the lay flat method. But what you can do if you want to do that instead is, if you've got the acrylic spacers, the big ones, or even the little mini ones, if you put them up on their side, they're 1/8 of an inch. So what you can do is get that on your corner at 1/8 of an inch and trim this off. And then you would go ahead and fold over and then tuck your corners in. I did it on that little bitty mini folio that I did the other day. I actually did it that way, and it shows you on that video how to do that, if you don't like to do this method right here. Personally, I prefer this. I think my corners come out way better. Although I have to say, doing that method with the spacer on the edge like that the other day actually worked so well. I could almost see doing that instead of doing this. But I do like doing this method. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this. Oh, I didn't miter that one yet. We'll come back to it. And you are just cutting on your score line, not your score line, your fold line, cutting out those corners. Once you've done that, then you're going to fold in and miter. And you're not going to miter like really aggressively. And I think that's probably where, you know, I've gotten tripped up before, where I've gotten a little carried away on that part. But even then, I've never had an issue. I know I've talked to a couple of people who have had like chipboard show in the corner because they cut that part too aggressively, and it happens. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we didn't miter this one. I got sidetracked. Okay, so now we are going to wrap our chipboard. However, I am going to prep mine first, just because I have a tendon issue in this wrist right here. Turns out it's not carpal tunnel, it's something else. I cannot for the life of me pronounce it. but I am going to go ahead and use a combination of score tape and glue simply because it goes down faster and I don't have to spend as much time pushing down and burnishing, because that's what really aggravates this. So I am going to go ahead and do this really quickly. And then we will wrap our chipboard. Like I said, this part, the taping on these edges, is absolutely optional. You can just do straight glue, putting these sides down when you're wrapping, and it will work just fine. For this piece, we're only going to wrap the ends. The wings, these side pieces, the long pieces, those stay where they are. However, again, just to help myself when I get to that point, I am going to go ahead and do tape on those as well. This one, I actually do recommend doing it, because this way, when you're putting your covers on your spine, they're not going to slide on you. Okay? All right, we'll come back to that one. We're going to do these first. So I'm going to come around, because I am using the tape. I'm going to pull my backing off of all of my tape. My cat loves to pull these pieces, backing from the tape, out of the garbage and play with them. I don't know why. But I'll like sweep the floor in here, and if I haven't emptied my, if any of them made it into the recycle bin by mistake, every time I'll come in here the next day and he's pulled 2 or 3 of them out and has been playing with them. Okay. And then I'm just going to go up, over, and down. And that is why I like using the tape with the glue, because I don't have to fight with this, and I don't have to sit and burnish and burnish and burnish. I can work that up and over and down, and it's done. I'm still having an issue with my hand, so we're going to do a 2-handed glue squeeze. I did spend a lot of time on the computer at work today, so that'll do it to me too, every time. In fact, I wonder if I take the little tip off and I go to the bigger opening. Oh, there we go. Awesome. That'll work. Other than I got a little carried away in that one corner, but that's okay, because I have a towel somewhere. Okay, so there's one piece. Go ahead and do our second piece now. I'm going to go back to my smaller tip now. Give me 1 second. Because I'm I'm not going to want that much glue when I do the spine piece. All right. So on the spine piece, I'm going to go ahead and get my backing off on my ends here. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go up and over. Okay. And then I'm going to flip this face up. Now, this is the really cool thing with the lay flat. The way I typically do it, with like maybe 2 exceptions, is this is going to go together like so. So you're going to see like that little seam. You can, however, put these wings to the outside if you want to. I'm not going to do that, but if I were, I would go ahead and I would get my glue on here. I would use my spacer, most likely in my scoreboard, and go down just like that. And then you would have your spine wrap going to the outside. Super easy, looks really nice. In fact, if you wanted to do where you would wrap your spine with pattern paper, you can do it with this and do your spine piece with the pattern paper. When you're mitering on these pieces right here, you would not do it aggressively, you would do it straight out, and then you can put it together like that and you have your wrapped spine. It's really cool. I need to do it on another album. I haven't done it that way in a long time, and it does look really neat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead on one side. I'm going to take my backing off. I'm going to take my glue. I'm not going all the way up to the chipboard, but I'm going close. I'm going to line this up on top. Slide it off. And then push it down. Because I use the tape in addition to the glue, it grabs immediately, and I don't have to worry when I go to burnish this or move it that my glue is not dry enough yet and my cover piece slips. Because I can tell you I have done that more than once, and I don't realize it immediately because it just moves ever so slightly. But it's incredibly frustrating when you look at the album after it's too late to do anything and that piece shifted on you while you were putting it down. Okay, so I'm going to lay this, do the same thing. Push it down. And there's our cover. Okay, now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to burnish this down, I'm going to work that spine down in between, and then I'm going to take a piece that is 8 7/8 by 5.5. I have covered the back of this completely with tape, and that is going to go down on this inside to reinforce our spine. Dang it, there it goes again. My one complaint about this pick is the cap on either end does not fit nearly as tightly as I wish it did. Okay, so I like to turn it sideways for this part just to make sure. I'm going to flip it tape side up first, just make sure where I really want it to go. And then go ahead and stick that down. All right. So there's our cover. All I need to do now is just bend. I'm going to just work that crease with my bone folder. And there's our cover. We're going to squeeze that just a little bit. Get that good and worked in there. And there's our cover. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so have our cover. We have our interior pieces. So I am going to just pick a side and get this glued in. Okay. I'm going to turn this. Whoops. That's the piece that needs to go in after I mat. And I am going to line this up side to side. And I'm going to go about probably a 1/4 of an inch out from my spine. Okay. Piece to the side there. Okay. Go ahead and glue on my other 2 tabs. If you wanted to mat all of this before you put it in, you absolutely could do that as well. Since I'm not sure what I'm doing with my matting on this yet, I'm going to wait until I get this all in. And there we go. There's one side. Flip around to my other side. And again, glue on 1 tab to start. I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch out. Well, it's probably not. Well, no, maybe it is about 1/4 of an inch out. Make sure I'm centered top to bottom. Not centered, but I'm even top and bottom. And go ahead and put that down. Garnish. Okay, those sides down, and I am ready to go ahead and mat and decorate my folio. So there we go. We'll come back, we'll probably do a couple of inserts for, you know, some of the bigger pockets in here, but otherwise, there is our folio. I'll be back in a minute after I've done some of my preliminary matting to attach the other couple of elements with you, and that should do it. Okay, so we're going to build our elements for both sides of the folio before we actually put it down on the folio. So the first set, we're going to start with a pocket 8.5 by 10. With the 10 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay, and set that one aside. Next is going to be our large flap. This is going to be 7 by 9.5. We're going to score this with the 9.5 at the top at 1/2 inch. Okay. Next, we have a belly band. This is going to be 10 inches by 2 inches. So with the 10 inch at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn it all the way around to the opposite end, and 1/2 inch again. We have another large pocket. This is 8 by 6. With the 8" at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch again. We have 2 pockets, 4.5 by 4.5. Same thing again, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. We'll do that on both. Okay. We have a side pocket. This is 4 by 10. Again, oops, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. Okay, we have 2 flaps that are going to go on top of the large flap and open top to bottom. These are 7 by 5. With the 5" at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score these at 1/2 inch. We have a small waterfall that's going to sit on one of those, so you need 3 pieces, 5 by 5.5. And with the 5.5 at the top of the scoreboard, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. We have another pocket, 6 by 5.5, starting with the 6" side. I think, hold on, this doesn't seem right. It is. Okay, sorry, I had to think for a second here. Starting with the 6" side, we're going to score it 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, and turn, and 1/2 inch again. We have some flip thingy that we're going to do. Flip thingy, that's, you know, so technical. 5.5 by 5. With the 5.5 at the top, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. And the other part of our flip, we have a 5 by 10. With the 10" at the top, we're going to score at 5 inches. Okay. So, we're going to get fancy. No, this is really more me trying to get better at that cute little notched pocket thing that lots of people like to do. I love how it looks. I'm just not good at it. So we're going to do it to make myself do it. Okay. Nothing needs to happen on this one. This flap, we are just going to miter from the score line in the top and bottom corners. We're going to set that one aside. This pocket is going to get a notch. However, before we do that, we are going to miter. So we're going to miter our top corners. And then we are going to miter on the bottom through the score lines. So where they intersect, you're going to cut directly through the middle. Okay? Set that aside. Actually, no, we won't, because that seems wrong still. Because I think it's too short. And I think I just now realized that. We're going to have to recut that. I apologize. We'll get back to that one in a minute. Okay, waterfall. We don't have to do anything to. You're not going to miter that. The 2 little half flaps, those are the 5 by 7. We are going to go ahead and miter those at the top corner and the bottom corner. Set those to the side for right now. Side pocket, we're going to miter top and bottom, and then again through where the score lines intersect. Okay. Same thing with the small pockets. And I am doing both of these at once, and I probably shouldn't because very easy to have it slip and then you have a mess. There's lots of pockets on this side, so we're going to do the same thing again on this one. Okay, the belly band, you're going to miter both sides. Our large flap, same thing, we're going to miter both sides. And then our big pocket, we're going to do the same thing again like we've done with the other pockets. Miter at the top. All right. Okay, so let me fix that pocket piece really quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so the pocket I cut wrong should be 6 by 6.5. So starting with the 6" at the top of the scoreboard, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. We're going to turn 1/2 inch, turn 1/2 inch again. I'm now going to move my scoreboard for a minute. We'll go ahead and do our mitering on this pocket. And that just went all wonky on me because I moved the paper. Okay. All right. So back to this whole pocket thing. So what I'm going to do on the small pockets, so like this pocket, I am going to take my ruler here and I'm going to find my center point and I'm just going to make a little mark very lightly, and then I'm going to take the envelope punch board. I'm going to line that center mark up, and I'm going to notice my edge, my scored edge is at 2.5, which would be the correct measurement. And we're just going to punch. Okay, so there's our first pocket. We are going to do this on wherever my other little pockets went. We're going to do that on these two small pockets, the 4.5 by 4.5. So this, the middle should be on here at about 1 3/4. Just like not go. There we go. Okay, so your score line is what you're going to line up over here. Okay. All right, so there's those two. This side pocket we are going to do a little bit different. So this one we're going to put our score mark at 2 inches and punch. Flip this over, go to 2 inches again and punch again, because we're going to cut out that center section. Okay. This pocket, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go 2 inches, turn it over, 2 inches, and then we will cut out that little centerpiece. Actually, that one we could go further out. So I think we're going to cut that one again. I think we're going to go yeah, I think we're actually going to go out to 1.5 instead. There we go. Ooh, that's kind of neat looking, isn't it? Interesting. That could be a fun thing to do on an album too. Okay, nothing needs to happen to the flaps, the belly bands, and then we have our big pockets. So on this one, we're going to go to the 2 inch mark. Punch, flip it around, 2 inch mark again. Okay, so we've punched all of those. I am going to get my ruler. You can do this in your paper trimmer if you want to. I seem to have better luck doing it this way. I'm going to line my ruler up. Which really the best way to do this would be, I've got like a magnetic board thingy. that mostly like for stamping and whatnot would be ideal for doing this on. However, I don't want to end up scratching up the surface and the measurements on it, so we're gonna go ahead and do it this way. Okay, so there's one. This is our next one, and I am using the metal edge. Actually, you know what? I know which ruler I really want, because then I don't have to worry about it sliding. It's my big Cricut one. There we go. Aha, much better. Lined up perfectly the first time. Okay, and then one more. And then we can start putting this whole little section together. All right. Actually, I didn't get that quite where I wanted it. I was close, but I did not start up high enough. All right, so there's that. Okay, so what we're going to start with is our big pocket. And I think this one is going to go onto the right side of our project. So I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm going to fold and burnish all of my tabs from my pocket. So this is going to go on my right hand side of my folio, so I want my opening on the right. Next, we're going to take our large pocket. I'm sorry, not our large pocket, our large flap. And that is going to go all the way and cover this side to side, like so. So let me grab my glue. And I have a different tip on my glue, so fingers crossed that I don't hate this one and I don't fight with this one. Oh, so far so good. I think I like this one. This is pretty good. Okay, I'm going to turn this upside down so I can line it up the way I want it. Okay. Right. On top of this is going to go our two flaps like so. We're going to hold on to those for right now. Instead, I'm going to open this up. I am going to grab my belly band. We're going to fold and burnish that. That you're going to center up on top of this flap. And it's hanging over just a tiny bit up here, so I probably actually cut this one a little bit longer than I needed to. So what I'm going to do, with this side folded, I'm going to put this back in here, and I'm going to find, yep, I was off just a tiny bit. I'm actually going to slide this over so that my first score mark is at the 1/8 of an inch, and then I'll go back to 9" and score. I will redo my miter. It's okay if this tab's a little bit longer. It's not going to matter. But I made that just about an 1/8 of an inch shorter. So that this will sit in here like so. Okay. And then I'm going to use my ruler to get this centered. And because we did take about 1/8 of an inch off, you're going to want to put it down centered top to bottom as well as side to side. Okay? All right. I'll flip this back this way now. This is where our side pocket is going to go in. And I'm going to go ahead and sorry. I just do not want this one to clog up because somehow I think it would be as bad to unclog, if not worse, than the normal one. Okay. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you're putting elements on top of other elements. You're always going to want to cut them just a tiny bit short. And I'm hoping this one's not a problem because I don't think I did on this one either. Okay, so, nope, see, this one's okay. So we're just going to make sure that's going to close, which it is. And we'll go ahead and glue this side pocket down. To the bottom corner, all the way to the outside edge, and gluing that down. Okay, pick that up and burnish it again, and then I will come in here and get glue on my side tabs. Burnish those down. Okay, so now we can close that. We can remove our large flap note because we put it down, we know what it is. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do our flaps that sit on top of this one. Now these are going to have a couple of magnets. So we'll get those positioned here in just a second. Okay, oops. Okay, so there's one. And before I put my second one down, I'm just going to double check that we're not really overlapping. And if we are, actually I don't want to take it out with that because I can get it a much tinier piece of it off if I do it with the dolly. There we go. And literally all I took off of that, I can get a hold of it, because literally it's that tiny. That's all I took off, just to make sure it fits the way I want it to fit. Okay. And again, we're going to line that up, glue that down. Okay. All right. So underneath here is where this pocket and where'd they go? Oh, there they are. My two small pockets are going to go. Okay, so these are going to sit on top of this, and that all goes underneath this first work. So we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. I'm going to go ahead and put this one down. I'm going to make sure it fits side to side before I put any glue or do anything crazy. Make sure it's not hanging out, and we're good. Okay. I am going to go up just a hair above where this bottom flap folds over, just so that we're not in the way. Okay. And then we'll do the sides. Brush those down. Okay, we'll go ahead and do our 2 small pockets. I'm going to fold and burnish both of these, because again, we're going to want to fit them and make sure they sit on here the way we want them to before we actually glue anything down. And we're good. And I think the difference is I cut all of this with my big dolly trimmer instead of my little paper trimmer that I normally use, because I kind of move some stuff around so that the dolly is right next to me as opposed to on the other side of the table. And not that it was hard to get to, it was just I always ended up with stuff on top of it, which is not good, because then I can't use it, and I would have to move everything, and I would cut chipboard, and then I would have to move everything back, and I don't know. I've been cleaning and organizing. I've been on a kick lately. Okay. So these, actually, we don't want to glue those down just yet. And I don't know where my paper towel went. This is probably not the right one. We actually don't want to glue those down just yet, because you would want to, because these pockets are side by side as opposed to being like straight across. So like where this one's straight across, you can slide your matting down in. This one you can't, because it's 2 separate pockets. So I'm not going to glue those down just yet. I'm going to actually wait for a minute until I've got my matting down. But what we can do is figure out our magnet situation here. So I'll grab my magnets. I'm going to need 2. All right, so here's the thing. We don't have a whole lot of space right there for the magnet. So what I'm going to do is it's going to have to actually go inside that pocket, which is fine, and that's why we're using the big ones instead of little ones, because it will be able to pick that up just fine. But to ensure that it can pick it up just fine, okay, so that there. We're going to go about right there. Actually, we're going to be fine because it's sitting up above the pocket, so we're good. Okay, so there's our first magnet. Our other magnet, this is the one that's going to be a little bit trickier because we're going to have to do it just slightly off center so that it sits on top of one of these pockets instead of like completely centered on there, which is fine. Actually, I'm going to start by putting it on the pocket itself, where it's far enough in and down that it's not going to lift up. Like, not lift up, but the matting's not going to like bubble up too badly. Okay. Which that, of course, isn't really going to want to sit down because we haven't glued that pocket down yet. But I don't know what I'm matting right there, so it's just going to have to sit like that for a second. All right. So we've got our flaps. Now, we have our waterfall. And our waterfall is going to go, did I cut this too big? I think I did. It was supposed to be 4.5 by 5.5. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Haha, I'm an idiot. Okay. Let me measure that just to be safe because I think this waterfall is like way off. Yep, we are way off. Okay. That will be fine, which, you know what, that means this is off too. Okay, we're going to fix this. I'll be right back. Alright, so here's how we're going to fix this. It's going to be super easy. So it should have been 4.5, not 5.5. So I'm going to go just a hair under 4.5 to make sure it's not too wide. I'm going to line that one up since I did cut it just under. And one more time. Okay. All right, so we have fixed our waterfall. And I believe it was actually supposed to be, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be 4.5 by 4.5. I know what I did. Initially, I was going to go, so we're going to cut these to 5 inches. Initially, I was going to make this 10 by 10 and decided to go down just a tiny bit. Yeah, like an inch. So really not a tiny bit. I decided to go down to 9 by 9, and I don't think I changed on my sketch where I had done my estimates of my measurements, because that's literally how I do this. I'm not even kidding. So I like sketch them and I guess on what my measurements are going to be, and sometimes I have to fix them on the fly like right now, but that's okay. All right, so this pocket should have been 5.5 by 6. That's why it was 5.5 by 6. It was actually right. And I second guessed myself. So what I'm going to do, actually I'm going to turn it this way. So I'm going to go to 5.5. So I'm actually going to cut off my initial score lines, my original score lines, because we've already notched this. I don't want to have to recut the entire thing. All I want to do is rescore the 2 sides and then fix my bottom part. Okay, so this should have been 4.5. Because I think that much is still, yes, this is correct. Okay, so this should have been 4.5. by 5, not 5.5 by 5. So 4.5 by 5, and then 4.5 by 10. Since, you know, unless you're watched this and written down measurements and then are going back and assembling, chances are you may have cut as we went. And this way I can show you how to fix it without having to recut entire things. Okay, so we're going to take our pocket that needs fixed. We're going to go 1/2 inch, turn, and then 1/2 inch again. Now we just need to fix our mitering, because of course it is now different. Super easy to do. We'll fix our mitering on the one corner on this piece, and the waterfall doesn't get mitered, so it's fine. So what could have been a really ugly fix was actually not that bad. Okay, this one I'm going to take just a sliver off of, because this one, so we're going to fold this flip in half. Okay, we're going to fold our score line here, and then this, of course, is going to close inside of this, like so. So I'm going to go ahead and put this piece together, because this is going to go on top of our pocket. So it will open up like so. Okay? Alright. So back to this pocket here. So this pocket, you can decide which direction you want it going, right or left. Did I still do this wrong? I did. You've got to be kidding me. What did I do? I took too much off of it. This is not my night, clearly. Okay. You know what? Forget the pocket. We are just going to put this cute little flippy-doo down on here. However, I'm going to wait until I've got some matting to stick under the ends, and then I'll put this whole thing down, just like so. So I'm going to set that to the side. We're not going to have a pocket on this side. It's fine. And we'll go ahead and do our cute little waterfall up here. So the waterfall is going to run side to side. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold and burnish. And so if I were really smart, I would have done Michelle Allen's like way cool waterfall technique. And now that I'm thinking about the other side of this, I totally should have done that, because that would have been a heck of a lot easier and way less paper. But I was not thinking that far ahead when I was planning this, so never mind. You know what? Because that's going to be... Yeah, no, we're going to keep this up on the top half. Okay. And you want this to this outside edge. Okay. And then just standard waterfall construction. You know how to go. This is why I do mine on top of something like this, because it helps keep it straight. Makes it easier to put them down. Okay. And our first side is finished. There we go. Cool, cool. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. I'll grab my stuff for our other side. I'll be right back. Okay, so for the other side, the first couple elements are going to be exactly the same. So we've got our pocket, 8.5 by 10. Starting with the 10 at the top, we're going to score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay, just leave that on there for now. Large flap is the same as well, so 7 by 9.5 with the 9.5 at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch. The belly band is also the same, so 10 by 2, which this one is too long. I did not fix it. 10 by 2. Square that at 1/2 inch on each end. And then our side pocket is going to be the same as well, and that one was 4 by 10. Okay. All right. So this one is going to have our 2 half flaps again, only this time they're going to go this way as opposed to this way. So these are 7 by 4 with the 4-inch side at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch. Okay. There's going to be waterfalls on top of both of those flaps. Got something like, anyway. So you need 12 pieces, 3.5 by 4.5. I was able to get most of these out of my scraps. Okay, so 4.5 at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch. You're going to do this on all of these waterfall pieces. And just in case I haven't already said this is the natural linen artisan cardstock that I'm using today. And I'm using this because I have a literal ton of this. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. All right, and then underneath those flaps, we're going to do a trifold, okay? First piece of, or not really a trifold, we're going to do another little flippy thing. I don't know. Seriously, it's been one of those weeks. All right, so this is going to be 7 by 8 1/4. 8 1/4 at the top of your scoreboard. You're going to score it 4 1/8. Okay. There's going to be an additional piece on here that is 7 by 4 5/8. You're going to score that at 1/2 inch. And then one more piece that is 7.5 by 4 1/8. We're going to put that with the 7.5 at the top and score that at 1/2 inch. Okay. So we're going to do like we did before. We're going to go through and do all of our mitering. So on our flaps, not on our waterfalls. Nothing on that one. Yes, on this one. Okay, our little side flaps. Okay, pocket, we're going to do the top. And we're going to do through the bottom corner again. Just like we have done with every pocket so far. Belly band this time is sized correctly, so we are not going to have to rescore this one. Okay, our large flap. And then our big pocket. So we're going to notch all of our little pieces and parts again. So this one, how far over did we start last time? Sorry. I knew I should have written it down and I didn't. So we do 2 inches on both of them? You must have. Yes, I believe we did. Okay. Well, that makes it easy. Okay, So I'm putting my score line at 2 inches. Flip it over, 2 inches again. And find our, I should have kept my stuff stacked up better, huh? On our 4x10 pocket again, 2 inches and 2 inches, and then we'll cut that down. And that's it as far as those go. So I'm going to grab my good ruler. Not that my other ruler is not a good ruler. If this one's phenomenal, it's just huge, so I don't typically use it for most stuff that I'm doing. Except when I'm doing stuff like this, where I need to be exactly, and I need to make sure that it doesn't move on me. Which, I didn't get all the way through that. Aha, there we go. Okay. And on this one, okay. All right. Put that away so I don't like put my arm down on it, because Lord knows I've done it before. Would not be the first time and cut myself. But it would be the first time I cut myself on camera, so, you know, there we go. So let's not do that. All right, so we are going to fold and burnish. Just like we did before. Okay, this pocket is going to open to the left. So our large flap is going to go on top. Fold and burnish that. Flip this around so I can line it up correctly. I'm going to just hold it on here and make sure everything is good. I'm going to leave it that way because we want the belly band next. Did I not miter that? What did I do? It's like I took a little half moon out of it or something. Weird. Okay. Sorry about that. And again, fold and burnish. And then just because I did cut both of these out of the same piece of paper, and I'm still just a tiny bit too long. So I'm going to rescore this one as well. I knew I should have checked, but that's okay. It happens. It's not that big a deal. And fortunately, it's easily fixed. And I should have checked because I cut both of those out of a scrap. And I should have known. Right, there's that there, there's that there. Okay, now we'll get our other pocket. Right. glue on our bottom tab. And this will line up on the side here, just like on the other one. And we're not doing any kind of magnet to keep this large flap closed, because the weight of the elements on it should do that without us having to do anything. Especially once it's matted and all of that kind of fun stuff, it should be just fine. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. Oh, that's the piece that goes with the other one. All right, so let's put together this little flap section, this section. Okay, so you're going to take your 7 by 8 1/4, fold it on the score line, and burnish. We're going to take our 7 by 4 5/8, fold and burnish. And I did cut this just a hair short on one side so that it will fold inside on this nicely. Okay, this will fold in like so. And then we've got this other little piece. And again, this is one where I cut it just a hair short on the height so that it will sit right here in the middle like so. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead. Looks like I do need to take just a tiny bit more off of this. So again, that's about all I took off. We're going to lay it in here again and make sure it fits. And actually, this one, I want it. To open towards the outside over here. Make sure I go all the way over. And there we go. So there's that little piece. Now, the waterfalls, you're going to have 6 on each side. I had it separated and then I stacked them back together wrong. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So these are going to go on top of our flaps. So I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish the flap. And then this is just going to go on top of it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish. Okay. Let's just slide everything all over the place tonight. Sorry, I was in a training and came up with this today, so while it was still fresh in my head, even though I am incredibly tired and should go to bed, I'm down here working away. Okay. Oops. It needs to be adjusted just slightly. There we go. All right, so there is our first one. Go ahead and do our second one. So this is going to sit right in the middle here. Actually, let's turn it the right direction. That would help. Like so. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my ruler and a pencil. Okay, so this is 9 inches. This is 7 inches. So we are going to find about where our center point is going to be. I'm just going to make a little mark, because once this one's on and centered, then the other one we can just line up with this, and it will all be good. Okay. So I'm going to line this up like so. There is that flap. We'll go ahead and assemble our second flap. So, like I said, I like to do mine upside down. I don't know why. I'm incapable of doing them the other way. You really want a like completely wonky one? Have me do it with it right side up, because it will be weird. Okay. All right. So we're just going to do the same thing again on this one. Using our flap to make it straight. Two more. And last one. Okay. All right. So now, flip this back over, and then we're going to go ahead and glue this down on our other side. Okay, so this one, I will just use my piece that's directly across to get this lined up so that they are even. Okay, so this, we can take all of our little notes off of here. It's going to go in the middle underneath. And I intended for it to go across, but it is a little bit tight, so I'm actually going to put this in the trimmer and take about 1/8 of an inch off of this. And then it should sit in here. I don't have it folded right. There we go. Now that will sit in there perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center this in here. However, when I glue it in, I am only going to glue on 3 sides. But this needs matted before we can put this one down. Okay? However, we do need our magnets. So again, we're going to go with 2 sets. What did I just do? Pull the wrong one out? Yep. Okay. So we're going to do our magnets at the top. So I'm going to get my backing off of this side. And I'm going to put this in about there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so those are going to close down like so. And just like that. And there we go. Now, to keep your waterfalls closed, once they're matted, they might lay flat enough for you. If you wanted to, just because of the way this opens, you could do a ribbon closure on there, and that would actually be really, really cute. This, like I said, will just go in the middle here after we get the matting done. But let me get our base and we can get this put in. Okay, so just let's finish off a couple of elements here. So I am going to do a tie closure on this. It'll stay closed on its own. I really don't need it, but it will look really nice. So all I've done is I've got my, this is the gray sheer polka dot ribbon from Country Craft Creations. And I just used my ruler to find the center point. The ribbon is 2 inches wide, so I just found the center point for a 2-inch wide piece of ribbon. And I'm going to go ahead and put that down with score tape. And then, yeah, this is my front. I've got my paper cut for the front, so that I will just mat on the front, and then I'll do the same thing on the back here. Okay, so that will take care of that. And then I just, of course, you know, mounted the spine like always. So first one we need to take care of is this little one that's going to go in here. And I've already gone ahead and matted, and all I'm going to do is, again, depending on how exact you want to get, you of course can use your ruler and figure that out. And I do want this fairly close to actually centered, just because I did do that with the flaps that are on either side. So let me just make sure I have this positioned the way I want it. Okay, so it's going to go like that. And you could just mat up to where it just barely goes under where this is going to go down, but I decided to go ahead and just do it as is. Okay, open that up. I'll just kind of burnish that down, so that's going to close up like so, and then this will close down on top of it. I've gone ahead and matted in here. I'm going to show you how to do these in just 1 second here. Okay, so this one is where our other little trifold piece is going to go. This one actually is matted, and because it's on the outside here, I am going to put some ribbon on that one. So this one, I'm just going to go ahead and do the exact same thing we just did with the other one. Just straighten up my ribbon here though. Just because if I don't put it on now, I will completely forget about it. And I just screwed that up. I told you guys I was going to leave that top part of that flap over there open as a pocket. So obviously that is not what I just did, but that's okay. If you want to do that, you can. You would just do glue on 3 sides as opposed to the entire thing like I just did, but that's okay. Not a big deal. I don't know that we need another pocket right now, so we're okay. So this one is just down on here. You'd untie it and you've got your little flip book. Okay, so for the notched pockets, and this is going to be the same process on all of them. So I have my cardstock, because this is the one, whoops, remember that we've got the 2 pockets we still need to fold up and glue down. So we're just matting this top part of this. And I started to glue it down, further down before I remembered, oh, wait a minute, no, no, no. Okay, so that's going to go like that. And what we're going to do, so I've got my piece cut, and this is, what, 7 8 by 3 1/2 roughly. It was just a scrap that I had left. So on this one, I believe our notch, so our notch on these bigger ones was 2 inches in. So for those, you're going to line your paper up before you punch the next notch at 1 7/8. That is where I always get screwed up when doing these, is the matting, because I always somehow think I need to move it in, because with normal matting you move it in, but because we're cutting this to mat along that edge, you actually have to move it out. Okay, that's where I always get these like screwed up. This one I think I did at 1 5/8. So I'm going to do it at 1 1/2 instead. No. Maybe I did it at 1 1/2 and I need to do it at 1 5/8. Bear with me just a minute here, because we're going to take a scrap that I was testing with a minute ago and we're going to try. Okay, so if I do 1 5/8, and you can always do this if you're not sure. Nope, it's going to be 1 1/2. Okay, which I think makes sense, because I think I did this at 1 3/8. I'm just going to try it on the other side and test it. So again, yes, that's what I did. Okay, so we are going to do this at 1 1/2. Turn it over. 1 1/2 again. And then we're going to do the same little trick we used before with the craft knife and a ruler. Assuming I can figure out where my craft knife went. There it is. Okay. So I'm just lining up the metal straight edge on this with that little dip on the pocket. Okay. And then I'm just going to dry fit this, make sure I did it right. And this side's slightly off. So all I'm going to do, grab my board again. We did 1.5 on that one last time. So I'm just going to go over 1 more 1/8 and punch it again. And where it's going one right next to the other, we don't need to trim anything again. And this is one of those things, if you're organized enough, which I'm not ever, to actually know what you're going to mat this with before you get to this point, you could have your matting cut and notch your pocket and then notch your matting at the same time, where you know for sure what your measurements were. I'm never that organized, ever, like at all. So that's not going to happen. So now we can go ahead and glue these 2 pockets up, and that will close off our pockets on this side, and we'll permanently put our magnet down. I'll try to get them up against each other. That one's just slightly over, but that's okay. All right, so then that will just close down on top there. So we've got that, and we've got that, and that's about it. The only other thing that still needs notched is going to be these 2 pockets. And so these are 3.5, so I would cut it at 3 3/8 and then just center it up on the punch and punch that notch in, because when you put it on here and it's set down, it'll be just fine.